Support mains, musicians, and surprisingly, statistics enjoyers, welcome into Practical Pathfinder. Today, we're going to learn how to build a bard. Now, Lord Generic, you ask, what is a bard? Well, essentially think of them as musical wizards who use the creative arts to give the universe that little push to make the story go in your hero's favor. Masters of support and more. They're also debuff kings. Pathfinder 2's bard class will never leave you lacking. They are the best support characters in the game. And boy, do they do their support well. Team-wide buffs on every turn is what you can find in even a level 1 bard package. And incredible debuffs from the powerful occult spell list. But it's not without downsides. Note your occult spells are mostly good on mental effects. It's a lot of mind magic and weird influencing kind of things. So things like oozes, skeletons, zombies, your spells won't work. You'll be stuck buffing your party and missing the other half. Also, many of their best buffs are bonuses to hit. Not the strongest combination for a caster-heavy party. If you have a wizard and a sorcerer on your team, Bard might not be the right pick. Beyond that, their powerful illusions are good even against mindless foes, surprisingly enough, and their high charisma stat leaves them incredible for any social situation. They make the best talking character in the game, at least one of them. Though, again, now without downsides. Illusions are very game master dependent. Talk to your game master on how they play illusions before you go hard on them. Some players will find their illusions are stronger than others just based on the table you play at. And while being amazing at talking is great, you only get so many skills, so the harder you invest in charisma skills, the less you can do outside of it. Beyond that, it's not just charisma. You can choose to increase your wisdom or your intelligence a lot for a bard. And bardic lore builds of high intelligence are fantastic knowledge characters, filling multiple niches in a party. And high wisdom builds, you have some great flexibility. You still have some recall knowledge with religion and nature, and access to the always incredible wisdom. Not to mention, as a bard, you're decently durable. Light armor and a solid 8 hit points a level leaves you on the tankier side of any caster. Though, you'll need that bulk because bards are infamously low mobility. Throwing out buffs and debuffs all days is not without cost. It takes all of your actions to keep up both your buff songs and your debuff spells at the same time. So, you can often find yourself surrounded by enemies because you really just don't want to move. Now, a quick note and to set your expectations before you get into Bard and you think, oh, I'm going to be so good. Everyone says Lord Generic knows what they're talking about. They said Bard's the best support. They are. But know what a support is in Pathfinder. Bard is a support who works through statistics, number manipulation. A +1 in Pathfinder is significant. It's roughly a 14% damage increase to give your team a +1 to hit. How Bard works is you stack these bonuses to hit alongside penalties to the enemy defenses through powerful debuff spells. And by stacking those together, turn the numbers and statistics in your favor. If you're not having a good night on rolling and your parties just cannot roll above a 5, Bard can only do so much to save you here. This is the nature of how the class works. All it does is make your numbers bigger and the enemy's numbers smaller. They don't do very good damage. They have a couple options, but not very good. Don't expect to put out big damage numbers. You're a very subtle character. You have powerful illusions and powerful debuffs in your spell list for subtlety and trickery, not for flashy explosions.
Leo, you're in.
Fear not, I have returned.
Dash it, old man! Help us!
I am.
And while you might be action expensive, your party can pick up the slack because every party loves a bard. They truly are the top tier when it comes to support characters, not just in Pathfinder, but some of the best support characters I've seen in general. One thing I'm just going to point out so that you remember, bards increase to hit and can reduce enemy armor class. In Pathfinder 2, you land a crit anytime your attack is 10 points over the enemy's armor. So don't think of these bonuses to hit as, oh, I hit more often. Realize it's actually a critical hit rate increase. Having a +2 or +3 to hit from all the bard's tricks is nice, but having a +3 to crit, that's a 15% increased crit chance. Now we're getting spicy. And with that said, your favorite party members are anyone who wants to get a little spicy. Any character who throws out big strikes is your biggest fan. Maguses love you. Psychics with oscillating wave, they love you. And huge burst is going to come out from their spells. Barbarians, inventors, gunslingers, even alchemists are amazing party members. An alchemist can provide buff items that synergize with your buff songs to turn your front line into a blender of combat. That was mostly physical classes, martial characters, fighters, barbarians, and the like. Casters are a little harder to synergize with as a bard. Their spells rely on saving throws, which your buffs don't interact with much. If you have a caster-heavy party, I recommend taking the Dirge of Doom cantrip, which is a feat you can get at level 6. This will apply Frightened 1 to all enemies within 30 feet of you. Guaranteed. Automatic. They can't resist it. Very good, because that helps your party member land their devastating spells. Reduces enemy saving throws. And this is one of the best ways you can support them as a bard. It's not the best matchup, but if this is the matchup you have, we adjust. Now, when it comes to ancestries, who you are and what you want to play as doesn't really matter as long as your charisma stat is sky high. With that in mind, most bards don't need to throw attacks. In fact, it's very hard to throw attacks as a bard with a weapon because your actions are all accounted for. That's one action for your bard buffs and 2 actions to cast a spell most rounds. Weapons just aren't that useful. So any ancestry that has a low strength stat, usually that's just free power for you. With that in mind, goblins are one of my favorite picks for a bard. Having good dex, good charisma, the unbreakable goblin heritage provides you with extra HP, which can't go wrong with that. And most importantly, the ancestry feat, Goblin Song. What Goblin Song provides is an AoE will save debuff for 1 action. And even better, it targets multiple enemies using your performance stat. This is something you need to increase as a bard anyways, so it's just easy, powerful synergy. And for those less goblin inclined, I mean, I don't really see why, but you do you. Halflings and gnomes are fantastic picks as well. Halflings can increase dex, wisdom, and charisma at the same time for great defenses. And halfling luck is an ancestry feat that lets you reroll a saving throw every day. That's basically a free hero point every day. Pretty darn good. Gnomes have the fantastic Razzle Dazzle feat, which extends blind and dazzled duration, something you can throw out very easily as an occult caster. Not to mention they have strong synergies with illusion spells in general, and as a bard, you're good at illusions. Humans, last of all, are always a good pick. They can boost their dex and charisma, decent stats, and the natural ambition feat allows you to take Hymn of Healing at level 1. Hymn of Healing is a focus spell that, well, heals someone. This provides you with great out of combat spammable resource-free healing. You can just cast Hymn of Healing, heal someone, spend 10 minutes refocusing, and repeat. And the more sources your party has of out-of-combat healing, the better off you are. You can recover very quickly. No matter what ancestry you pick, though, all you really need to know is you need to max out your charisma at +4 charisma. You want as much dex as you can fit, preferably starting at +3, though +2 is okay. And then you pump your constitution as high as you can. Wisdom is a fantastic pick for your last stat, but if you want to be a smart bard using bardic lore, I would recommend increasing your intelligence instead. And when it comes to equipment, you don't actually need that much as a bard, so you can pretty much style yourself as you want. You'll want a chain shirt early game because your dex is probably +2 or +3 at best. So a chain shirt lets you boost that armor class as high as you can get without strength penalties. If you have a dex at +4, then consider swapping it out to leather armor, but that can't happen until level 5 at the earliest. Beyond that, you're a caster. You buy normal caster items. Wands are fantastic. Scrolls, buy as many as you can get your hands on and use them early and often. Scrolls are fantastic value for their cost. And you'll want a staff. Some great picks are composer staffs or drums of war. Both are great ways to boost your performance and get some extra bard value because, well, they're made for bards. Granted, note that the drums of war takes 2 hands to wield. It's a set of drums. You need both hands to play it. So that is a little more expensive than a composer staff. And last, when you are at high levels, there's the 8th level item, the orchestral brooch. I recommend buying this when you're in the double-digit levels, past level 10, because the cost will be pretty low at that point. What the orchestral brooch does is it allows you to crit succeed any performance roll on a base success. This will make sense later once we get to the Fortissimo composition feat, which, in other words, allows you to super buff your team on demand no matter what. With equipment out of the way, what are your skills? What things will your bard be a master at? There's actually quite a lot of choices here. The only requirement is performance. You have to be good at performance. You're a bard, singing, dancing, whatever style you pick, you want to be good at it. I recommend picking singing or some form of dance. Instruments are nice, but they naturally take up your hands, which can be awkward if you want to use scrolls or wands or staves or even open doors. Singing and dancing doesn't have this problem. Beyond that, acrobatics is always a good pick for casters. It allows you to escape from being grabbed and being swallowed by big monsters and just nom 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 eaten. But you're a high charisma character. You want diplomacy, you want intimidation, you want deception. All of these are great picks. Diplomacy is amazing for a bard, natural fit, and the Bon Ma feat is an incredibly powerful will save debuff you can use with diplomacy. Intimidation is strong because, hey, extra frightened is always good. And deception is surprisingly good with the melodious spell feat. If you don't want any of these, particularly depending on the type of bard you pick, you might be able to use performance to get around most of these skills. Consider just pumping your stealth. Stealth is always nice, and sneaking around is just a useful thing in roleplay and in combat. When it comes to messy skill feats, it's pretty tough for a bard. You have so many skill options. Here's a few options, all right? You're going to want Bon Ma no matter what. This keys off diplomacy, which you're very good at with your high charisma, and it debuffs will saves and perception. Notably, it debuffs will saves for a minute until they spend an action to retort to your insult. Bards use tons of will saves. The occult spell list is basically the will save spell list. This is incredible. Beyond that, virtuosic performer, pretty much required for a bard, gives you a circumstance bonus to your performance. Why would you not want that? And then after that, if you have acrobatics, which at least 1 point, hopefully, but if you increase it, catfall and kip up are natural choices. No falling damage and getting up from prone for free is great. Now, if you have a bunch of intimidation maxed out because you're going the polymath build, which is the one I will recommend this build. Hey, how convenient. But if you're going with the polymath build, intimidating glare, terrified retreat, and terrifying resistance are all great ways to get extra power out of your demoralize. As for general feats, well, you're going to see a lot of repeats in every build. There just aren't that many general feats. Improved initiative, you're a caster. Going first is huge for any caster because crowd control spells, difficult terrain, illusions, walls, buffs, all of them benefit from going first. Beyond that, toughness, you get more HP. Sick. And fleet, you move more. Sick. Great. You don't move very often as a bard, so when you do have to stride, you want it to be worth it. You want to move as fast as you can. And at high levels, pick up Canny Acumen for bonus fortitude. Canny Acumen can move one save to master when you hit level 17, and you want high fortitude saves. Believe me. Oh, high level fortitude saves will kill you. Let's avoid that. At last, we can get on to feats, and I know you're thinking generic. Most caster feats are kind of bad. You're right. Most caster feats are bad, and Bard only really needs a couple feats to be the shining star of their party. Every other feat is going to be optional, and I'll mention that. This is a great class for taking archetypes on, but frankly, that's out of scope of this video. It's simply too broad a topic to address on its own. With that said, your bardic muse, to start off at level 1, I recommend being a maestro muse. The maestro gives you lingering composition. Lingering composition is vital for any bard, allowing you to use a focus point to extend the duration of your bard buffs. Whichever bard song you choose to play, you can make it last longer. Normally, that's going to be your courageous anthem, which is bardic inspiration for those of you coming from older versions of Pathfinder or Dungeons and Dragons. Hello! But that's your basic buff. It normally lasts 1 round. A maestro bard can make it last 2 or 3 rounds. Buy them that room and that action breathing space to do other things. It's the best one. And speaking of the best one, that doesn't mean the others are bad. That's why at level 2, I recommend picking up Multifarious Muse, allowing you to grab a second muse. And from there, I recommend Polymath or Enigma. If you want to be an intelligence bard, go with Enigma. This gives you bardic lore, which is a lore skill that works on everything. You can recall knowledge for absolutely anything, and it's keyed off your intelligence. So that's why you need a high intelligence to use this build. Otherwise, I highly recommend going with Polymath Bard. Polymath Bard is an interesting one, allowing you to use your performance skill. Your performance skill can be used to essentially make up for worse social skills. Specifically, you can use performance for demoralize instead of intimidation, for impersonation instead of deception, and for make an impression instead of diplomacy. It doesn't completely replace social skills, but it frees up that room for you to spec into other skills such as acrobatics, stealth, medicine, whatever you desire. If either of these multifarious muses doesn't sound appealing, go ahead and grab Hymn of Healing. Hymn of Healing is a great alternative. It's a strong focus spell, and it lets you heal people. It's hard to beat. It's really useful. Now I'll note, the level 4 and 6 feats, you don't need these for the build. You're still completely powerful and viable without these. So if you want archetypes, here's the time to dip in. Melodious Spell at level 4 is a fantastic role-playing meta magic, though. What it allows you to do is it allows you to cast a spell without it being obvious that you, the bard, is casting a spell. Great for illusions, great for mental magics, silently buffing yourself if a fight's obviously going to break out as people are arguing, that kind of thing. And at level 6, pick Dirge of Doom. Dirge of Doom is a great alternative to your inspiring Courageous Anthem. You see, whereas Courageous Anthem buffs your party and makes them hit more easily, Dirge of Doom applies Frightened to your enemies. It's a big debuff bubble that also makes your enemies easier to hit while hurting their offense. Notably, Dirge of Doom is the pick if you have a lot of other casters in your party. Other people using spells that force saving throws on their enemy, Dirge of Doom is your best synergy. The downside of it is, at this level, you can cast a rank 3 Fear spell. Rank 3 Fear spell targets 5 enemies and applies better Frightened than Dirge of Doom does. So while yes, it is limited, you usually don't have that many fights in a day. And buffing your team with Courageous Anthem while debuffing the enemies with a high rank Fear spell is often way more powerful than a mere Frightened one. Dirge of Doom is great for a cantrip. Now, to provide a fun alternative, if you don't like the idea of Dirge of Doom and Melodious Spell and you want to dip into an archetype, I highly recommend the Gunslinger dedication. Gunslinger's archetype you can access thanks to your high dexterity. You did increase dexterity, right? But your high dexterity allows you to pick up Gunslinger dedication at level 4 or level 2 if you really don't want Multifarious Muse. But like, trust me, it's super good. You want that. Oh, whatever. And at level 6, you grab the archetype class feat, Basic Shooting, giving you a second level Gunslinger feat, which you use to take Fake Out. Fake Out is very good for bards. It is a reaction, which you don't really use in your build, so using your reaction every round is fantastic. Fantastic. And all you need to do is carry a pistol or even a crossbow gauntlet on your offhand with nothing else in it. Although a pistol would give you better range. It doesn't matter either way. You can carry both in the same hand if you really want. And when an ally attacks someone within your first range increment, which for a pistol is a bit farther than the gauntlet, 60 feet versus 30 feet. Either way, when a teammate attacks an enemy within that range increment, you can make an aid check as a reaction with an attack roll, giving your ally a +1 to hit. And if you crit succeed, which is very easy now, the recommended aid DC in the Game Master Core Guide is 15. So a crit's a 25. Pretty easy to get as you level up. Either way, that would give them a +2. That's not a lot on its own, but consider +1 from Courageous Anthem, +1 from Fake Out, -1 from Frightened 1, or -2 from Frightened 2, or Clumsy 3 from the Synesthesia spell at rank 5, which is 9th level Bard. That would be a swing of 5 for a 25% crit chance increase. Bard lives and dies on statistics. You will win over time by just shifting the numbers until sheer math tells your party they will land a crit. And Fake Out helps you do that. At level 8, though, throw everything else out the window. At level 8, there is one pick. Fortissimo Composition. Fortissimo Composition is the feat. Now, you have to be a Maestro Muse Bard to take it, which is just another reason to be a Maestro Muse Bard. It's already the best one with Lingering Composition. Well, now it's double best. What Fortissimo Composition does is it uses up a focus point. It is a focus spell. And as a free action, when you use Courageous Anthem, or Rallying Anthem, or Song of Strength, but only if you have those. When you use Courageous Anthem, you make a performance check. If you succeed on the performance check, your Courageous Anthem goes from a +1 bonus to a +2 bonus. If you critically succeed, it goes to a +3 bonus. To put that in context, this means at level 8, you can, as one action and a focus point, throw the effects of a rank 6 heroism buff spell onto your whole party for 1 round. You crit succeed. You will throw a rank 9 heroism buff spell onto the whole party. That's a 15% crit chance increase. That is insane. Insane. But that's not where we stop, right? If you've been paying attention, you might realize, oh, what if I cast a fear spell with my other 2 actions and hit enemies with frightened 2? Now it's a 25% chance of critting. That's nuts. That's a fourth of your rolls in total. Your party will never miss, basically. What if you went with the gunslinger archetype and took fake out? Well, now it's a +6. Effectively, that's +3, -2, +1, right? That one swing gets a 30% chance, increased crit chance. Fortissimo composition turns you into a buff god. There's no other way to say it. It is unbelievable. To be frank, the greatest weakness of a bard is that you'll get bored of rolling through fights with how strong your buffs are. Or your game master is going to make all the fights way harder because they're like, yeah, you can handle this. Bard is just too cracked once you hit level 8. This is where you peak. Everything from here on is optional. Now, just so you know, every feat from levels 10 on, you don't need in a bard build. Everything here is optional. I mean everything, despite how good some of them are. If you want to use archetypes for your bard, now's the chance. Now's the time to go wild. With that said, being optional does not mean they're not powerful. At level 10, you have some great options. First off, House of Imaginary Walls. This rules. It's a cantrip that creates a wall of force illusion. It's a real wall of force, unless they disbelieve it. But you recreate it every round, so they would have to keep disbelieving it. And if you and your allies believe it's real, they choose to believe it's real, they can treat it as a solid object and climb onto it. This lets you essentially make ladders and 10-foot blocks you can climb on at will as a cantrip whenever you want. A lot of role-playing utility here. And while it doesn't stop objects, you can cast visual spells through that imaginary wall. It's also pretty tough. It's like Wall of Force. It's quite durable. That's a lot of power in a cantrip. No one else in the game gets a wall spell as a cantrip. Block off doorways, block off hallways, cover your back so things can't hit you. There's a lot of value here. And if you don't like wall spells, although, I mean, wall spells are very rare for a cult, please consider it. But if you really don't, take Quicken Casting. You can't go wrong with it. Quicken Casting, you can cast one spell once a day for 1 fewer actions. The whole point of this is this lets you cast a second spell on top of your first one and wombo combo an enemy with a crowd control spell into a second control spell or into a wall spell, or a control spell into a damage spell, or a debuff into a damage spell, anything you want. Insane power. The only requirement is the spell you quicken has to be 2 ranks lower than your highest rank spell. I honestly recommend at level 12 taking whichever feat you did not take at level 10. House of Imaginary Walls or Quicken, whichever one you picked at 10, pick the other one at level 12. Yeah, there's some decent level 12 feats, but these two are so good. They're so good. Level 14, though, we do have a couple decent options. You have Earworm, which is... that's a lot of text. What it's saying is, basically, you can plant an earworm into your allies, into their minds, and then once you've created it, you can, as a free action, do a performance check in combat. If your performance check beats the highest will saving throw of your party, of the people with the earworm, you get to cast one of your buff cantrips for free for 1 round. That's it. That's pretty good, though. Actions are valuable, and as a bard, you're always action starved. So getting even a chance, a good chance, at a free action, it's hard to say no. It's hard to say no. The other main option I would say is Soothing Ballad. Soothing Ballad is an AoE heal spell. That's nice. I mean, AoE healing for 2 actions as a focus spell? What's not to like? That's decent in combat. That's great out of combat. It's amazing out of combat, actually. I would say it's one of the best out of combat healing spells in the game. But you're also level 14. Your party probably has out of combat healing on lock. It simply comes too late to build your party around. But if you want an AoE heal bomb, it's not a huge heal. It's not the biggest, but it is an AoE heal. And at level 16, this is probably the one feat I would say you gotta pick. You gotta pick this. It's so good. It is Effortless Concentration. On the start of your turn, you get to sustain 1 spell for free. This lets you pick sustain spells and just use them. Note, your bardic cantrips, your composition cantrips, cannot be sustained for free. They are not sustained spells. I know, you use them every round. Generic, I spend an action every round on Courageous Anthem. Isn't this free? No. Courageous Anthem is not sustained. It simply has a duration of 1 round. So it's not good for that, but if you cast something like Phantom Orchestra, you can sustain for free and get a blast of damage every round for the whole fight. That's really good. That's really good. And at 18, here's your other best feat with Eternal Composition. Eternal Composition means you are now quickened. You are now permanently quickened, and you can only use this action to use a 1-action composition cantrip, which is great. You're going to be doing this every round anyways, unless you use Lingering Composition. So this just frees up your buff every round. Congrats. At the low at the low level of 18, you can move in combat. Amazing as bards are, they do have that mobility pain. They feel it. Oh Lord, do they feel it. And level 20, there's some really fun feats in here, but nothing necessary. Nothing necessary. You can always take Perfect Encore for a second rank 10 spell. Those spells are strong. You can't go wrong with it. Personally, I like Pied Piping, mostly because I think the Pied Piper is a fun story, and it's funny. It's funny, that's why. But Pied Piping, being an incapacitation spell, is normally a downside, but you're level 20. What's going to resist your incapacitation spells? Only things that are level 22 and higher for this focus spell? Okay, that's not really a downside. And what this does is it allows you to hit in a 5-foot emanation around you, which I'll note is very small. That's not a big emanation until you sustain it once a round. Hey, good thing you get free sustain, am I right? But it allows you to fascinate creatures and force them to use all their actions to approach you and compliment you. And I'll note, normally Fascinate breaks on any hostile action. Pied Piping specifies on a failure, this effect ends if a hostile action is used against the affected creature. They would not call this out unless the clear implication is that this effect will not break. This Fascinate does not break if you attack their friends. Because otherwise it would always be true. That wouldn't need to be there. Putting it in specific trumps general. This is better than normal Fascinate. And that makes it a solid pick. Oh, well, we're done. Thank God. The feats are over. What do you mean this is a spellcaster? Oh, no. Oh, no, please. I'm just kidding. We're working on a full occult list deep dive, so I'm going to do a speed round. Yeah, it's still going to be kind of long, but we're just going to go through a quick loadout, an easy loadout. If you pick this on your bard, I guarantee you'll be solidly effective and well-rounded. But if you want the details, you'll have to check out our occult spell list guide. once I get off my butt and finish making them. We're most of the way there. We're most of the way there. And all right, speed round. Let's go. Cantrips. You always have cantrips. You can use these indefinitely. Pick cantrips that you want to use, a couple damage picks for combat, maybe a defense pick, and the rest for role playing. After all, game is more than combat. So with that said, needle darts lets you target enemy armor class, do decent damage, and most importantly, if you carry silver and cold iron ingots on you, which are pretty cheap, they don't have to be good, just cheap, you can shave off bits of that and shoot them at enemies with weaknesses to silver or cold iron, like werewolves, devils, vampires, those kinds of things. Void Warp is your fortitude save spell. Can't hit them, just force them to make a fortitude save, take some void damage, also known as negative damage. Does not work on the undead. And, hit them with that testicular torsion. They'll take some damage no matter what, even if they make the save. A great pick. And Shield is a third action spell. It's your one action spell that lets you buff your armor class and shield block an incoming attack to reduce the damage. A little harder to use on Bard. If you wanted to swap something out, consider this, because your third action, often for a buff. This is mostly if you have to move, buff your party with a Courageous Anthem, and then shield. Last, Message is incredible. You can silently say something to someone within your line of sight. The range gets longer as you level up. That's really useful. That's just really useful in a role-playing sense. And Prestidigitation is similar. This covers all sorts of minor magic effects, lifting things, cleaning things, cooking things, very small parlor trick kind of spells. You're a bard. I mean, isn't that part of the performance? And at rank 1 spells, this is the most complex we get. I'm putting it near the bottom, but you should take this from levels 1 to 3. You take Runic Weapon. Straight up, you take it, best spell in the game. It gives a party member, put it on your fighter, your frontliner, anyone with a big two-hand weapon is ideal. Gives them a +1 striking weapon. Essentially, they get a level 4 magic item that will do an extra dice of damage. They have a greatsword, they'll throw an extra d12. If they have a battle axe, they'll throw an extra d8, 8-sided die. Either way, huge damage buff. You put this on the fighter, let them murder the enemies as you buff them, and all is good. Once you hit level 4, or once your party starts picking up striking weapons, you get rid of Runic Weapon. Retrain it to something else. With that said, you have amazing picks here. First off, Force Barrage. This is your damage spell. This is the best single target damage spell you're going to get as an occult caster for most of your lifespan. Lets you spend 3 actions and do 3 blasts of guaranteed damage. Guaranteed damage is really valuable because sometimes all you need to do, land a hit. That's what matters. Often, that's what matters. Soothe is your heal spell. I mean, like your only healing spell for most of the game. This is your pick for a signature spell. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention signature spells. As a spontaneous caster, you can cast any spell you want at any time with your spell slots. But a signature spell is one that you can upcast and gain the benefits of casting it at a higher level. You can still cast these spells at lower levels with your high rank spell slots, but you don't gain a benefit unless it's a signature spell. You get 1 signature spell at every rank. Soothe is the one I recommend. It's good at every rank. You always want to have a heal in the back pocket for when things go south or you need to save someone's life because they're bleeding out on the ground. An illusory object is also an evergreen spell. This makes an illusion. It's so good. It's so good. You can make any illusion you want within a 20-foot burst. Now, how illusions work is very dependent on your game master. Some game masters will say, well, to interact with a fake wall and move through it, they have to, rules as written, spend an action to even attempt to disbelieve or they don't know it's fake. Other game masters will say, well, they can't see through it unless they disbelieve, but they can move through it. Personally, I'm the former, but either way, even just blocking off line of sight for a first rank spell is great. Second rank, this spell is downright overpowered because the illusion now feels real to the touch and sounds real to the touch. Wait, touch? Whatever. Either way, you can use this for all sorts of role-playing shenanigans. It's so powerful. You're going to want this at rank 1, possibly take it at rank 2. Either way, it's very good. And last, when you hit higher levels, when you're level 5 and have rank 3 spells, you're never going to cast a rank 1 spell for damage. Retrain your Force Barrage for Liberating Command. This is a 1-action spell that allows you to attempt, or allows one of your friends to attempt to break out of a grab or immobilize effect on them. Super good. Teammates get pinned down or grabbed by a big monster. 1 action, get out of there, buddy. No, you're not grabbed. Nah. Turn off enemy powers and save your team in style. Force Barrage, you're going to want to take at higher ranks if you want that damage. I won't mention it after this because it's around. It's up to you. Rank 2, you get a good AoE spell. That's really rare, by the way. Vomit Swarm is a reflex save spell that does fairly low damage at 2d8. Not great, but it does sicken enemies on a failed save, and sickened is the best debuff in the game. Practically speaking, reducing all their stats by 1, and does not go away unless they spend an action to attempt a fortitude save against your spell DC to get rid of it by going blah, blah. It's really good on that fail, but the damage is mediocre. However, being an AoE reflex spell that does damage, that's really rare. Super, super rare. It's good. When you're levels 3 and 4, you're going to want Vomit Swarm, and then maybe get rid of that afterwards because it's not doing as much. Laughing Fit is always good. This spell is evergreen. Hit an enemy, turns off their reactions. Now, it is a sustained spell, so you have to keep spending actions to keep it up, which is very painful for a bard, I will note. They love having 2 actions to cast a spell and 1 action to use a composition cantrip and buff their team. It's painful to use sustained spells, but when this is the silver bullet to turn off an enemy's reactions, like Reactive Strike, that's when you pop it. That's when you use it. And Revealing Light is your invisibility counter. You can reveal hidden and invisible foes, plus they do become dazzled even if they succeed on their save. Fantastic. A silver bullet that's in your pocket no matter what. Always good in every situation. Last, once Vomit Swarm is no longer useful to you, retrain it to Dispel Magic, which is going to be your signature spell pick once you have it. This lets you counter magic spells. Well, not counter. This lets you dispel magical effects, enemy buff spells. You can just blam, gone. Enemy illusions, blam, gone. It's very versatile. But note it's as good as your game master uses casters. If your game master loves pulling just monsters out of the monster manual, many of them just hit you or have big monster attacks. They don't always use spells. So it's up to you to decide, okay, is Dispel Magic something that actually gets used in this game? Or do we never fight wizards? Rank 3, though, now our occult spells are fallen. Super strong. Super strong. First off, Fear. Fear at rank 3 is an amazing spell. This targets 5 enemies in a 30-foot radius of you and hits them all with Frighten. Frighten 1 on a success, Frighten 2 on a fail, and if someone crit fails, they're Frightened 4 and fleeing for a round. They're pretty much out of the fight. That's an insane value package. Combine it with Courageous Anthem, and the stat swing alone with your party means you're probably going to win. It's that easy. After that, Roaring Applause is essentially the better version of Laughing Fit. In most situations, just straight up better. It does the same thing as Laughing Fit, turns off reactions and possibly slows the enemy if they failed their save. but it triggers reactive strike from your party, such as fighters. Once you hit level 6, barbarians and champions might pick up reactive strike, and at that point, oh, roaring applause is just free attacks for the party. And last, I recommend Sea of Thought. Now, there are other spells that create difficult terrain, but Sea of Thought is a 2-action spell, particularly valuable for Bard because you want that third action for your buff. You want to get that buff song. Keep that up. Sea of Thought creates difficult terrain and on a fortitude save reduces enemy movement. Combining both into one is very effective and can really slow enemies down to a crawl. Now at rank 4, you're going to want invisibility. Rank 4 invisibility, also known to us classic players as greater invisibility, is now an invisibility spell that lasts for 1 minute and works in combat. Your friend has a 50% mischance because nothing can see him. He is hidden. Even when they know where they are, they have a 50% mischance. Keep in mind, though, very important, so do you. Your friend goes down and is bleeding out despite the invisibility buff. You have a 50% mischance to target your buddy. Risk and reward, but the reward is so high. Second, fly. How? Of course you're going to pick this. It's fly. You can fly. This solves so many puzzles in role-playing. You can fly over walls, pits. You can fly in the windows. It's insane. And in combat, and guess what? Flying is still very good. Hard to use on yourself. Hard to use as a bard because your actions are accounted for and you need to keep moving to keep flying. So consider tossing this, much like invisibility, on one of your frontliners, on one of your marshals, your fighters, and let them fly after the pesky enemy. You're a support at the end of the day. I know if you want to be the big hero, well, you kind of are. You're just in the background. And last, Vision of Death is a fantastic spell and our signature candidate. It is single target fear with damage on top. This applies fright into an enemy while doing decent damage at the same time. Great for focus firing an enemy down. Now at rank 5, this is Occult's king time. You are now the best caster for a little while. Well, you don't have Wall of Stone. Okay. You're one of the best casters. Because you get Synesthesia. Synesthesia is insane. Completely wild. This is a will save single target debuff that applies Clumsy 3, Dazzled, reduces their speed, and makes them have a chance to fail any kind of spells or manipulate actions they attempt. That is a lot of debuffs. If they fail their save, this is on them for 1 minute. The fight's pretty much over. You are just going to dogpile whoever fails this. Insanely powerful. Insanely powerful. And beyond that, you have more than single target. You also get Slither, which 3 actions to cast, same as Wall of Flesh. Pretty painful, but when you want it, you want it. This is an AoE grapple zone on a reflex save. Note, reflex saves are very rare for you as an occult caster, so this is quite valuable. And it grabs all the enemies in the area and does some light damage, but more importantly is the crowd control. And last, Wall of Flesh. Wall of Flesh is a wall spell. It makes a wall. Manipulating terrain is one of casters' privileges and their strongest effects. This is not a good wall spell. It's kind of a weird one and a little gross. But that's a Occult's thing. But even a mediocre wall spell is still a wall spell. So I would pick it up. Last, you could take this at rank 5, but I would just pick up a wand when you can afford it. See the Unseen at rank 5, also known as See Invisibility, now lasts for 8 hours. This is a See Invisibility spell you can toss on yourself. Hey, you know how I said it's hard to heal your friend that you made invisible? Well, not anymore. See the Unseen. Oh, it's just always on. Invisible enemies. Yeah, I see You're going to want that up every fight, has basically 20% mischance on him, but I still see him. That's really good. Fantastic to have. A great buff long term. Now at rank 6, we get a better wall spell. Yippee! You don't necessarily need this alongside Wall of Flesh, but I mean, more walls isn't bad. Decide probably only one or the other. Beyond that, unexpected transposition is a reaction that I love. I think it's really funny. What it is when someone attacks you, you swap places with a different enemy on the field, and that enemy takes the hit for you. That's great value, great damage, and it's really funny. Note, you can also swap with an ally if you want the ally to take the hit, but move them into the enemy's range. I recommend using this on weaker foes. When a big guy swings at you, swap places with a minion with a weak enemy on the field. They are much more likely to fail the will save. Second, slow at rank 6 is insane. Slow becomes an AoE spell at rank 6. Now, every enemy makes a fortitude save and starts losing actions. The chance of enemies failing slow goes up exponentially as you have more and more people roll the dice. Remember, as a bard, you win through statistics. And the statistics say that the more people roll the dice, someone's going to fail. If you hit enough people, a good chance someone crit fails and they're just out of the fight entirely. Wall of Force, as we mentioned, it's a wall spell. It's really good. It's very tough. Very importantly, visual spells can go through Wall of Force because you can see through it. So your illusions, your visions of death spell, that can target someone through your Wall of Force spell. Is that useful? I mean, not often, but when it is, it's really funny. And last, this is your signature spell at rank 6. Phantom Orchestra is your AoE damage king for the rest of your career as an occult caster. Phantom Orchestra is a fortitude save that does a small burst of sustained AoE damage. Every round you sustain this, it will keep doing damage. This adds up to a huge number over the course of a fight. It's really good. And once you get free sustain with effortless concentration, now at rank 7, we got some spicy buffs to go with all these debuffs we've been stacking. First off, True Target. This is your king spell at rank 7. For one action, your whole party gets Sure Strike, also known as True Strike, on one enemy. The next attack each ally does, they get to roll 2d20 and take the better result. That's wildly powerful. Wildly powerful because it's one action. So you can do things. Round 1, Lingering Composition, your Courageous Anthem. That's a +1 buff on the party. Round 2, look at an enemy. Oh, party's in range. Party's engaged in the fight because we're one round in. All right. Synesthesia. Give them Clumsy 3 for a -3 defense. True Target. Hey, everyone, roll twice. Kill that man. Just annihilate that target. It is combos so well with any debuff spell. And Haste at rank 7 is an insane buff spell that, hey, guess what? Combos well. Haste becomes a party-wide spell, an extra action for the whole team every round to stride or strike. Now, as a caster, you can't use the strike, but you can use the mobility of an extra stride. As a bard, it's hard for you to move around, right? It's hard for you to move around, so this haste is quite good. And last, Telekinetic Bombardment. This is your signature pick as a damage spell. This is a reflex save AoE. Note, reflex saves are so rare. They're so rare in the occult list. This is a good reflex save damage spell at high ranks. This, combined with Phantom Orchestra at rank 6, this constitutes the core of your damage dealing capability. Rank 8, you're insane. All there is to say. Rank 8, occult spells are crazy. Have you noticed, however, since you hit rank 5, it's been all gravy train all day? High-level bards are crazy. Just insane. With that said, Spirit Song is a 60-foot cone AoE that does damage on a fortitude save. The damage is okay, but more importantly, it turns off enemy reactions and can stun one if they fail to save. That's a lot of effects, right? Crowd control, reducing actions, turns off deadly reactions, which at this level, it's very common for enemies to have powerful attacks and powerful reactions. But the damage is like, okay. It's not perfect, okay? You know what is perfect, though? Disappearance. Disappearance is essentially the ultimate invisibility spell. An invisibility spell that works against all senses in the game. The strongest form. Now, one might say, does this work on See the Unseen, also known as See Invisibility? Well, disappearance works like invisibility, but it's not invisibility because it's all senses. So debatable. Ask your game master how they want to handle that. If See the Unseen does work on disappearance, it's a much weaker spell, but still insanely good. Most monsters can't see invisibility in the first place. And last, Quandary, the ultimate control spell. You pick a guy, gone, deleted, banished to Shadow Realm until they escape several rounds later. Use this to split up combats. If there's two key targets, make one just go away and beat the other one into a pulp before they return, and then you take them out. Divide and Conquer, this is the ultimate spell for it. At rank 9, you have some great damage picks. Though honestly, your previous spells, I would almost say, were more impactful. But rank 9 is still very, very powerful. Foresight is a solid hour-long buff spell that allows you, as a reaction, to cause your buffed teammate to re-roll a saving throw or an enemy to re-roll an attack. So you can keep them safer and help them stay alive. This is really good if you don't use reactions. If you went with the Gunslinger build with Fake Out, don't pick Foresight. If you didn't, do pick Foresight. Simple as. Phantasmagoria is your will save attack. This is a friendly fire safe, huge damage, no reactions, possibly confusing enemies. It's good. It does a lot of damage. It has strong debuffs. This spell rules. Last, Unspeakable Shadow is the ultimate form of the Fear spell. It's a single target debuff, applies frighten to enemies and forces them to waste actions, either running away from their own shadow, which is really funny, or wasting their multiple attack penalty by making an attack at their shadow. Note, when you have to flee from your shadow, ask your game master, how would they interpret that? Personally, I interpret it as you run away from the bard, because what direction is their shadow in? That's not really defined. But your game master might decide to define it differently, and they're not wrong for doing it. And last, if you do hit level 19 somehow, congratulations for the fantastic campaign. Let me know how it was. I'd love to hear. But your rank 10 spells, these are the ultimate pinnacle of magic for a mortal and very powerful. With that said, I really recommend Nullify. It is the supreme counter spell pick. This lets you counter any spell of rank 9 or lower, guaranteed. Sure, you take a little bit of damage, but you're level 19 or 20. That's not a big deal. What this does is it deletes an enemy's turn. 2 actions to cast a spell. No turn for you. No turn for you, caster. That's massive, and the tempo swing is probably going to guarantee a win, or at least a huge advantage. And if you do have a second rank 10 spell, if that's the feat you went with at level 20, consider Freeze Time. Freeze Time is super good. You spend 3 actions to cast it, and in exchange, gain 9 actions. You gain 3 rounds in the stopped time. That's how long you can move. So this lets you reposition the safety and cast buff spells, AoE spells, zone spells. So, for example, Slither plus Disappearance plus Sea of Thought. Now your enemy's in difficult terrain that reduces their move speed and grabs them, and you aren't there anymore. Things like that are very powerful. This is the best spell when you get ambushed or surprised. Stacking buffs is, well, you're a bard. You know well by now that stacking buffs is how you win Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Woo! There you have it. There's a bard build, all right. Remember, as a bard, you're the king of buffs, debuffs, and social interaction. You've got a lot of hats to fill, and frankly, you're good out of combat and amazing in combat. Keep Soothe at the standby to heal your friends if they're hurt, but only if they're badly hurt. It's more important to keep your team buffed and the enemy debuffed when possible. That's how you win. That's how you win. If you are lower levels, levels 1 to 4, use your cantrips often. Needle darts and I almost said testicular torsion. Void warp are solid sources of damage, and enemies levels 1 to 4 have very low health, so a quick needle darts makes a big impact. If someone's particularly low health, you can tell someone's on the ropes and about to go down, don't be risky. Fire a force barrage and take them down for certain. Guarantee that kill. Secure it. That's what you're here for. Vomit Swarm is also pretty solid at rank 2 for getting some AoE damage out. Something you'll be like, oh, am I allowed to do this as a bard? You level up, your debuffs are going to be insane. From rank 3 on, your debuffs are crazy. Just from rank 3 Fear and Roaring Applause, Revealing Light, Sea of Thought, your debuff game is crazy to go along with your buffs from Inspiring Anthem. From Courageous Anthem. And once you hit rank 5, rank 6, you get Fortissimo Composition at level 8. Now your buffs are God tier. Don't be afraid to roll those dice. Keep trying. +2 on the party is insane. +3 on the party is even better when it happens. And remember, as a bard, you won't always make a difference. That's okay. You're playing the statistics game. You will make a difference often enough to swing fights massively. Don't think, oh, this one roll, he rolled a 1. My buffs are useless because I can't stop my allies from having bad luck. Your allies won't have bad luck forever. Hopefully, I have one party member in a campaign who rolled 11 nat 1s within 45 rolls, so some people are just doomed, but hopefully your team will do okay. Either way, you're playing the long con. You're playing the long game as a bard. You keep the buffs up. You keep the enemy debuffs down. Talk and communicate with your party. While you can make a gap in their stat advantage over you, you can make that gap, and your party has to hammer it home for the win. Teamwork makes the dream work. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you have any questions about Bard, let me know in the comments, okay? Tried to make this a little shorter, but lordy lord. Lordy lord, sometimes it's a little hard. Such is the nature of the caster. Such is the nature of the caster. I hope you enjoyed this, and again, if there's any spells you love, there's any bard tricks or stories that you just gotta say, let me know. I'd love to hear it. Be sure to subscribe. Maybe if you toss in a like if you enjoy it. We got more builds coming out. We got some other things coming out. I'm cooking a few different ideas. We'll see how they work out. We'll see how well they work out when they actually come to fruition. Here's hoping. But this is Practical Pathfinder. I'm Lord Generic, and I'll see you next time, okay? Thank you for dropping by. Enjoy your supporting, enjoy your path finding. And remember, work together, y'all.